Hey, what's up? This is Nico. Welcome to What's the Vibe, a YouTube series where we talk about vibe coding, talking through best practices, tools, and sharing personal experiences. And this is exactly what we're going to do this week. In this week's episode, I'm going to share my personal experience building an app that got a bit of traction that was built entirely through vibe coding tools, Lovable and Cursor, to name them. This is taken from a talk that I gave last week at a meetup in Barcelona, and I would like to add also some stuff that I didn't mention and that people asked afterwards. So let's get started. I don't know if you saw, but about a month ago, Airbnb launched a new version of their app. The app had a bunch of new features, new experiences, and things to explore around the world. But people got crazy about those three little icons in the top. They were animated, they were beautiful, but more than anything, they were a new style. After years of flat design, people were going back to a thing that we can call skeuomorphism. If you don't remember what it is, if you don't know what it is, just look at what apps used to be on the first iPhone generation. This is a screenshot of three popular apps on your iPhone. They still exist today, but the design has changed dramatically. The Note app looked exactly like you would have on a real notepad. So it was impersonating this experience, having all the lines, the yellow look. Similar to the newsstand, it looked like if you're walking into your newsstand around the street. And the dictaphone app, the microphone app, looked exactly like a microphone. This was the first iteration on design. All the apps were trying to mimic real-life examples. After this, it evolved, it went through flat design and many other iterations, but the consensus is nowadays we're more in a flat design world. So what Airbnb did was kind of a breaking change. As the word was getting crazy on those new icons, some tutorials start popping up on Twitter. People were sharing tools and step-by-step guides on how to create your own icon following the same style. There are a few that appeared there that people got crazy about, a lot of views, tell you how to create animations on it, how to create a whole set, and eventually it reached LinkedIn. And if we know anything about trends in this world, whenever it reached LinkedIn and the LinkedIn influencer, it's kind of too late. And I didn't want this to happen. I thought there was something to do. And because I used to live in San Francisco and I used to surf, only one thing that I know is you can only ride a wave once. Afterwards, it's another wave. If we look at how people were doing this today, they were using step-by-step tutorial, a guide, where they would basically copy the prompt that people shared online, put this in a tool. Most cases it was ChatGPT. Then they will get an image. You will use that image, upload it to another tool, in this case Runway, as a tool to animate images, add another prompt, and download the animation. This was a long, painful process, and you already lost a lot of people before they get started. And this is why I decided to create a project around this to make it simple. I called it Bnbicons, to ride a wave again on Bnb, Airbnb style. And I would like to share with you how I built this and what I've learned launching this project. As I was exploring Twitter and looking at how people were building those new icons in that style, I stumbled upon someone that was sharing a model, or should I say a trained subset, specifically on icon to get that look. This was shared on Hugging Face. Hugging Face is the biggest AI directory where you find models, open source contribution, weights, everything that you need to progress in that. After finding this, I was still very skeptical because I had limited experience and I didn't know really how to run my own model. I looked through some tutorials, but it seemed very complicated for a hackathon project of just an afternoon trying to figure out how to ride that wave. I didn't want to go through that struggle and I was about to give up. But this, when you're a developer or you're a vibe coder, there is one thing that you should always remember. There is an API for this. There is always an API to come and help you make this easy for you to connect. And in this case, the API is called Replicate. So Replicate is a company that's been around for a couple of years already, and they're hosting a bunch of models for you. And when I mean a bunch, is literally hundreds of models, and hundreds of models are specifically trained. This is just like their homepage right now, and they have all the hottest models that you've seen. the VO3 to generate video, you have Flux Context to generate images with text, all the hot stuff. The cool thing is that they're hosting the model and the infrastructure. You don't have to handle this. You don't have to handle the availability of the platform. You don't have to handle how warm the infrastructure is. You have to cold start, all these type of things. They do it for you. They even provide you a visual interface to try the different prompt and iterate on your exploration. So in this case here, that was the model that I used to generate icons. They had a specific example on like a cyberpunk look. And so you go, you modify, you try, you see the result. Is this what you want? And then once you're happy with it, now it's time for implementation. And for the implementation, they have just another tab where you get the Node.js implementation, the code, like code sample that you can use, and the actual JSON output that you get from the API. With this, you can then fit it into a vibe coding tool, such as Lovable, to then create the proper integration. And now I had an API and I knew how to move forward. I knew that things were possible. It was time to get into vibe coding. I went to the tool that I've been using recently the most, that I know I can get quick results and working well, Lovable. If you haven't used Lovable, as many other AI software, it starts with a prompt. You describe what you want to build and eventually it builds it for you. For me, the first prompt was the following: help me build an app where people can prompt to create a new isomorphic icon. UI should be simple, an input to enter the prompt, and show a list of recently created emojis. Use replicate to call the model. From the first minute, we knew how we wanted to call that model. And this is the result that we got, which is very similar to what exists today in the app that I launched eventually. It had everything that I needed, the input, the list of emojis, and even had, because we said that we're going to call the replicate API, a way for you to input your own API key, which could work. But for most people, this is a bit cumbersome. So we have to iterate and make this disappear, and we'll be the one making the API calls on people's behalf. In my first iteration, I actually tried to implement it directly with Hugging Face, because when I was discovering the model, I saw also some documentation on Hugging Face, but it didn't work. So to guide the Lovable model to build something better, I just went ahead and copied the API sample that I got from Replicate and be like, copy paste this, try to replicate this, remove the existing stuff that are not working, and make it work for me. And in the end, I got a good result. Now, the other thing here is, instead of doing pair programming where I would be sitting next to someone and just like look at the failure and the stuff that they were doing, I think it's better to call vibe coding more like a peer programming. We're sitting together and we exchange ideas and we work together on solving those problems. This is also where, and I think we talked about this in the last video, where we talk about chat mode. So instead of jumping right away into a solution mode and solving stuff for me, I wanted to double check that we agreed on the plan. And using chat mode, it went exactly step by step, telling me what it was about to do. And then here, it's also the opportunity to talk about edge cases, things that the model didn't think about, and how we can correct this. Here, specifically, this is the conversation I had to create this edge function that will generate the emoji, save it on the Supabase database afterwards. And eventually how to connect this with the front end. Once you're happy with the plan, there's one little thing you need to do is click that button that says implement the plan. This is where the magic happens. Then it goes and creates, modify all the file in your app. Eventually that works. And if you have some bugs, then you keep iterating and trying to solve those bugs. But most of the time it works fine. So if you've already done some integration, you know one of the critical thing when you're dealing with third-party services are your API keys. And in this case, the Lovable model is smart enough to detect that you're about to input an API key. So you don't put it in the conversation because if someone finds this conversation, they're gonna get your API key. But instead, it's popping you up to be like, hey, you need to add this API key for this third-party service that we're going to use. This is very convenient and the best way to manage your API keys. As we're making progress, through conversation, we keep adding other features, a way for you to upload a reference. This is something that was given in the model in the interface that we saw earlier, where if you give the URL of an image, it will use this to then create the next icon. So instead of just prompting in something that might not be known by the model, you can actually give a picture of the water bottle, the car that you want to use, and it will turn that into an icon. I also wanted to encourage people to share the app, so I implemented social sharing eventually, and also this was all built by the Lovable model. Even the payment, and I think this needs a whole section where we can go through payment and how we deal with payment here, but we use Stripe with payment links and edge functions on the Supabase to handle the webhook that we got from Stripe. In the end, over the weekend, so I built this on a Friday, I launched it a bit on Twitter, and over the weekend I had 500 icons that were created, which kind of encouraged me to just launch this on Monday on Product Hunt, again, with the idea that we have to be first, we have to ride that wave, and if I wait too long, someone else will take that wave. So I launched this on Product Hunt on Monday. We managed to get number 2. Now we have 15,000 icons that were created, about 4,000 users, and I'm not ramen profitable, I'm Lego profitable, which means I'm able to buy more sets to put in my background. Pretty exciting. Now, let me tell you about the things that I found out and I think you could do differently. One thing that I would like to put the focus on if you're creating an app and you hope to launch it and it might go a bit viral and you might have a bit of users is analytics. Because nowadays, Lovable and other vibe coding apps don't provide any analytics on how many visitors you have on your platform, how many visitors, where visitors are coming from, where did they click, what they're doing. And for this, my recommendation is to install PulseHog. They have a free tier, and using PulseHog, you're going to be able to track all the user activities on your website. I didn't have this when I launched on Product Hunt, which meant I lost a day of tracking, a day and a half exactly. So the peak of my day, when everybody was going there, I lost it. I don't know what people were doing. Using PulseHog, you can also prompt Lovable or the tools to mention that you want to track activities. And for me, it was able to detect which type of activities I wanted to track. So beyond just visitors, you want to also get a funnel of someone comes visit the page, they click generate, they click download, they click copy. And so you see then the journey of the user. Because it had the context of the app and it knew how the PulseHog API was working, it was able to build all this for me directly. Now I have proper analytics, and from those analytics, I discovered something really important. Using PulseHog, I was able to learn about my users, and I learned a bunch of things. But the thing that got me super excited also, something I didn't realize, was this map. This is the map of users using Bnbicons, and we cover almost the whole world. I was expecting to see people coming from the US because I launched on Product Hunt, and I think this is mainly a US website, and the website is in English. I expected people from France and Spain because I'm French, I live in Spain, I have a network of people there. But the thing I didn't expect was here, Korea being the bluest country in the world, and China being to the top, and Japan and India as well. And my website was only in English. I had to act quickly, but again, riding that wave to make sure that the people that were coming to visit my website had the best experience. What I found out is people were using prompts in different languages. I saw prompt in Japanese, in Korean, and Chinese. I need to serve them and give them the best experience. And for this, I use another tool called Lingo.dev. Lingo.dev is a YC company. They just launched about a year ago, and they just launched a new way for you to translate your app. They support many languages, and it was really a no-brainer for me to install this. I added a package, gave the instructions to Lovable, and it did the whole thing for me, translating my app directly. Now, if you go on Bnbicons.com, you can pick the language and you have it in Korean, in Japanese, in French, or in Hindi. You decide, and this is also automated depending on where people are visiting and the browser language that they have. So this is wholly transparent for our visitors. We should add more languages because it's that easy, really. Something else I discovered the hard way while my app was getting featured on Product Hunt. When you're using Supabase and you're doing authentication, you can authenticate by email and password or through third-party like Google, logging, GitHub, Microsoft, all these type of things. In my case, I wanted to offer both logging and password and Google authentication. But to activate your account, when you get an email and password, you get an email, right? That says, hey, welcome to Bnbicons. Click here to verify your account. What I didn't know is when you're in test mode, you can only send 2 emails per hour from your Supabase domain, because they're not meant to be sending thousands of emails. This is not what they're offering, which makes sense. I had to find out the hard way as I was building this, a way to make a bridge connected to my SMTP server to send emails through my own domain, so we will not be blocked by Supabase. This is a bit further away from the vibe coding topic, but if you're launching an app and you're offering this service, just have this in mind in your checklist to check the rules on sending emails through Supabase. Finally, I wanted to talk about a huge topic, security. Mainly because at the moment you're going to share your app somewhere on the social network with Reddit, Twitter, you name it, someone is going to try to hack it. They're going to try to find security flaws in your app. I think people are scanning right now to find new apps created with those vibe coding tools and try to identify the most common issues. They're not really hackers. Like the same way than when we were young, we were trying to hack WordPress website, or maybe I was doing this, not all of you, by just looking at the default name and password. This is not hacking. This is just looking at the most basic security flaws. And so here, you just have to be vigilant on what to do. And now the things got better. There are tools that you can use both on Lovable, on Supabase, and in other places to check that the data that you're exposing is not exposed to everybody, that someone couldn't just make a small API request and get your whole database, including email, name, and password. In my case, at the moment I launched, I had some really nice people that reached out offering services to help me out and identified some issues with my app. In this case, I think it was mostly false alarms because people were reaching out. I was like, I can get the list of all emojis. I was like, well, this is by design because I want emojis to be public now. I should probably by now include something for private emojis if you pay. For example, that could be a nice feature and a nice way to monetize it. But at the moment, this was the design and the intention. So nothing to see there. So one thing we didn't talk about is cost. Obviously, you can try to launch this using the features in all the different tools. But at the moment, your app is going to be successful or get a bit of traction, you might need to upgrade to different tools or different tiers. In my case, I started to pay for Lovable because I wanted to get the custom domain, which is a premium feature. Then I started to pay for Supabase because when we launched the app, we got a lot of traffic, and to get more bandwidth, because we're serving a lot of images, you have to upgrade to higher tier on Supabase. And I didn't want to be limited and shut down as the app was featured on Product Hunt. I also pay for the domain. It's about $2 maybe. And finally, I'm paying to use the model. And so every time I make an API call to replicate, I pay a small fee. In the end, when I'm saying I'm profitable, this is, I'll say, just a test right now. This is not the app of my life, but it's a good learning experience. So the only thing I can encourage you to do is to try, go launch and ship it. I'm very curious to learn more about what you're going to ship, what you are building right now. If you want to be featured on Product Hunt, I will be happy to hunt you. So reach out. I left some links in the comments for you to get free credits into different places. Hopefully use it. And yeah, have fun.